June 22nd, 1941. Before sunrise, along a front stretching from the Baltic to the Black Sea, German artillery opens fire. Aircraft cross the border. Armored columns move forward almost simultaneously. Operation Barbarossa has begun. It is the largest invasion in history. Over 3 million German and Axis troops advance into the Soviet Union with a single objective: destroy it as a military power in one campaign. This is not a war of occupation. It is a war of annihilation. The German strategy is built on a clear assumption that the Red Army can be encircled, destroyed, west of a defined line, and prevented from recovering. That assumption is not theoretical. It comes from experience. In Poland, in France, German forces used speed, concentration, and deep penetrations to collapse entire armies in weeks. Barbarossa is meant to repeat that model, but on a scale that changes the nature of the problem. The invasion is structured around 3 main axes. Army Group North, under Wilhelm von Lieb, advances toward Leningrad. Army Group Center, commanded by Fedor von Bock, moves toward Moscow. Army Group South, under Gerd von Rundstedt, advances into Ukraine. Each direction has its own logic. Each also competes for priority. And from the beginning, that tension is built into the plan. On the Soviet side, the situation is unstable. The Red Army, under Stalin, with commanders such as Zhukov and Timoshenko, is in the middle of reform. The officer corps has been weakened by purges. Deployment is forward, making units vulnerable. Barbarossa strikes at that weakness immediately. In the opening phase, German operations are highly effective. Encirclements at Białystok and Minsk capture hundreds of thousands of Soviet troops. At Smolensk, the pattern repeats. German armored spearheads advance rapidly, cutting deep behind Soviet lines. Operationally, the system works. Speed disrupts coordination. Encirclement destroys formations. The Red Army suffers massive losses. From the German perspective, the campaign is unfolding as expected. But early success begins to mask emerging problems. First, the Red Army does not collapse. Despite heavy losses, new formations continue to appear. Soviet command absorbs the shock and reorganizes. Second, distance begins to matter. Supply lines stretch. Rail networks require conversion. Roads are limited and often unusable. Fuel and maintenance start to constrain operations. Third, the question of strategic focus becomes unavoidable. Where should the main effort be concentrated? After the Battle of Smolensk, Army Group Center is positioned to advance toward Moscow. At this moment, a decisive choice is made. Hitler intervenes. Instead of pushing directly toward Moscow, armored forces, including those under Heinz Guderian, are redirected south to support operations in Ukraine. The objective is to secure the flank and destroy additional Soviet forces. Tactically, the decision delivers results. The Kiev encirclement leads to the capture of more than 600,000 Soviet troops, one of the largest encirclements in history. But the cost is time. Momentum toward Moscow is lost. And Barbarossa, originally conceived as a rapid campaign, begins to extend. When the advance toward Moscow resumes in October, German forces still retain offensive capability. Operation Typhoon begins with significant gains. Encirclements at Vyazma and Bryansk again result in large Soviet losses. But conditions are changing. The autumn rains arrive. Roads turn to mud. Movement slows dramatically. Supply deliveries fall behind. Operational tempo drops. At the same time, Soviet defense becomes more structured. Zhukov is tasked with organizing the defense of Moscow. Reserves are brought forward, including divisions from the Far East. Defensive lines are established in depth. The Red Army begins to stabilize. German forces continue to advance, but under increasing constraints. Fuel shortages limit maneuver. Equipment deteriorates. Winter approaches. The campaign, planned for months, is entering a new phase. By December 1941, German units reach the outskirts of Moscow. But they are exhausted, undersupplied, unprepared for winter warfare. The Soviet counteroffensive begins. German forces are pushed back. In some sectors, the retreat is significant. For the first time, the offensive has stopped. At this point, it becomes clear that Barbarossa has not achieved its objective. The Soviet Union remains in the war. The campaign has not ended. It has transformed. The reasons for this are not singular. They are structural. The German operational method, rapid advance, encirclement, destruction, depended on certain conditions. Limited depth, manageable distances, enemy collapse after initial defeats. These conditions existed in previous campaigns. They did not exist here. The Soviet Union had depth. It had the capacity to absorb losses. It had the ability to relocate industry and continue production. It had reserves. At the same time, German strategic decisions amplified the challenge. The division of effort between multiple objectives diluted concentration of force. Leningrad, Moscow, Ukraine, each required commitment. None could be decisive alone. The decision to prioritize Kiev delayed the advance on Moscow. It extended the campaign into unfavorable conditions. It introduced time as a factor. Logistics became central. Supply lines stretched across vast distances. Transport capacity was insufficient. Vehicles broke down. Fuel shortages increased. Weather intensified the situation. Mud reduced mobility. Winter affected equipment and personnel. The campaign environment shifted. On the Soviet side, adaptation continued. Command structures stabilized. Defensive strategy improved. Counteroffensives were executed with increasing coordination. Zhukov's role in the defense of Moscow reflects this shift. From reaction to controlled resistance. Barbarossa did not fail in a single moment. It failed over time. At the tactical level, German forces remained effective. Encirclements were achieved. Battles were won. At the strategic level, the campaign lost coherence. Objectives multiplied. Time extended. Conditions changed. The original assumption that the Soviet Union could be defeated in one campaign proved incorrect. And once that assumption failed, the entire structure of the operation began to weaken. Barbarossa became something it was never designed to be: a prolonged war against an opponent capable of enduring it. And in that transformation lies its outcome. Operation Barbarossa was not simply a failed invasion. It was a strategic miscalculation. One where operational success could not compensate for flawed assumptions. And it leaves a fundamental question, not about how the campaign was executed, but about how it was conceived. That was the story of Operation Barbarossa. A campaign where strategy, scale, and reality did not align. If you want more war stories focused on tactics, strategy, and real historical decisions, make sure to subscribe.